Prologue: The Weight of Silence. War on the Pokrovsk front does not smell of gunpowder. It smells of burnt coal dust that embeds itself into the pores of your skin. It smells of sour sweat that hasn't been washed off for weeks, and the raw, rotting wood of shattered tree lines. Oleksiy, call sign Forrester, had been lying motionless for 4 hours. His body had long since become part of the landscape, a pile of debris amidst the ruins of a farm on the outskirts of a village that no longer existed on any map. His rifle, a UAR-10, was an extension of his arm, cold and demanding. Beside him, within arm's reach, Andrei, call sign String, breathed barely audibly. String was 24. He was the spotter, the eyes of the pair. The one who measures the wind, who sees the world through the prism of mathematics and ballistic tables. Forrester was older, past 40, and he was the finger. The one who pulls the trigger. Wind is shifting, String whispered. His voice didn't come through ears, but as a vibration inside the earpieces. From the southeast, gusty. 3 meters per second. Just half a mil left. Copy. Forrester moved his lips barely a fraction. They were a single organism. A sniper pair is a marriage stronger than any church vow. Here, the mistake of one becomes the death of both. Part 1. The Gray Zone. The sun was slowly rolling behind a massive, black slag heap that hung over the horizon like a tombstone. The Pokrovsk direction was a hell of logistics and artillery. The enemy pressed with mass, with waves of infantry, grinding everything into gravel. The task of the Shadows group was to halt the advance of the enemy's assault elite, who were attempting to seize the high ground near the railway embankment. Movement. String's voice hardened. Sector 12. Near the burned-out APC. An officer and a 2-man detail. Forrester slowly panned the barrel. Inside the scope, the world danced in the haze of heated air. He saw them. They were behaving too confidently. The officer was waving his hands, pointing toward the tree line where the Ukrainian infantry was dug in. Range 840. String dictated. Angle of sight 0. Air temp plus 18. Pressure stable. Wind is tearing, Alex. Wait for the lull. Forrester inhaled. The world around him vanished. There was no pain in his lower back, no thirst, no fear. There was only the crosshair and a small figure in pixelated camouflage of a foreign color. Waiting, he exhaled. The wind swayed the dry grass in front of the lens. A lull. Shot. The rifle kicked his shoulder with a familiar, heavy punch. The sound of the discharge was swallowed by the suppressor, turning into a dry, sharp crack, like the snap of a whip. Good hit, String stated without emotion. Officer is a 200 Kia. Security is down. Displacement? String asked a second later. This was the rule of blood, 1 shot, 1 change of position. But Forrester felt the rush. It was the thing he feared and loved simultaneously. He saw one of the guards lift his head, trying to pull out a radio. It was an easy target. Too easy. Wait, Forrester said. I'll take the second one. Alex, no. String's voice grew tense. We're compromised. The foliage is thick, there could have been glint from the optic. We leave. 1 second, Andrei. 1 second. He's exposing himself. It was the same mistake. Classic. Textbook. Hubris multiplied by exhaustion. Forrester thought he was the hunter. He forgot that in war, you are always prey as well. He inhaled again. Placed the crosshair on the enemy helmet. Shot. The bullet struck true. Done. Forrester exhaled. Now we am. He didn't finish. Part 2. The price of a second. You don't hear the sound of an incoming mortar if it lands nearby. You feel the shockwave. But this wasn't a mortar. It was the dry, almost surgical sound of a foreign bullet tearing into flesh. Not into earth. Not into brick. Into flesh. Forrester heard a strange sound, like an overripe watermelon being dashed against asphalt. And following it, a quiet, surprised wheeze. He snapped his head to the right. String lay looking at the sky. His spotting scope lay nearby, the lens shattered. There was a gaping hole in Andri's neck. The blood didn't flow, it sprayed, a fountain of black, thick, terrible liquid. Enemy sniper. He had been waiting. He didn't shoot the shooter. He shot the eyes. The one who was more important. Or simply the one he saw first through the very glint Andri had warned about. Andri! The scream stuck in Forrester's throat, coming out as a hoarse hiss. He lunged toward his partner, forgetting camouflage, forgetting sectors of fire. Instinct screamed. Tamponade! Hands that a second ago held death for others now trembled, trying to hold on to the life of his friend. He ripped open the medkit, grabbed a tourniquet, but realized, it's the neck. The carotid. A tourniquet won't help easily here. He needed to apply pressure. With fingers, with gauze, with his entire existence. Forrester jammed hemostatic gauze into the wound. The blood was hot, far hotter than the air. Look at me! String, look at me! Don't close your eyes, damn you, don't you dare! He whispered, pressing his forehead against his brother-in-arm's forehead. Andri's eyes, usually the color of steel, were dulling. There was terror in them. Not from pain, but from realization. He tried to say something. His lips moved, blowing bloody bubbles. You said. String exhaled barely audibly. Quiet! Evac! Forrester keyed the radio, smearing blood over the plastic. Base, this is Shadow 1. We have a 300 casualty, critical. Grid 48. Need a box, vehicle, urgent. The airwaves hissed and answered with the indifferent voice of a staff officer. Shadow 1 copy. Grid is under heavy arty fire. Evac impossible. Wait for the green. Out. Evac impossible. Those words hit harder than a bullet. Part 3. The Long Road into Night. They were left alone in a semi-ruined basement where Forrester had dragged Andri. Above, on the ruins, the artillery began to work. The walls trembled, plaster rained down, mixing with the metallic scent of copper and iron. Forrester kept his hand on his friend's neck. The bleeding had stopped, but Andri was pale as chalk. He had lost too much. Forgive me, Forrester whispered. I got carried away. I got fucking carried away, Andri. String smiled faintly. It was a terrible smile, resembling the grin of a skull. Alex, he rasped. There, in the backpack. What? Water? Meds? Phone. The boy exhaled. Delete the video for Nastia. Forrester closed his eyes. Nastia was Andri's wife. They had married during his last rotation, a month ago. String recorded videos for her every day. Silly, funny ones, where he promised to come back. You'll delete it yourself. You'll show it to her yourself. Forrester barked, feeling tears stream down his dirty face, leaving light tracks in the grime. You're going to live, do you hear me? You're young, you heal like Wolverine. Andri closed his eyes. His breathing was becoming intermittent, shallow. Time stretched. Minutes felt like hours. Forrester looked at his watch. Only 10 minutes had passed. He began to talk. To talk to keep Andri from sleeping. To talk to drown out the roar of explosions above. Remember how we cornered that boar at the training center? Remember how scared you were that it was the instructor? But it was just a hog. Andri, you promised to teach me guitar. You said my fingers were wood, but you'd make a musician out of me. Andri didn't answer. His chest rose less and less frequently. Suddenly, a new sound came from overhead. A buzzing. An angry, mechanical buzzing. FPV drones. The enemy knew where they were. They started to dismantle the building. The first explosion rang out somewhere in the next room. A wave of dust hit them in the face. We need to move, Forrester whispered. Andri, we need to crawl. He tried to lift his partner. String's body was heavy, limp. And in that moment, Forrester felt it. The shift. The body didn't just become heavy. It became an object. He pressed his fingers to the wrist. Silence. Pressed his ear to the chest. Silence. Where a minute ago a universe beat, where plans for children lived, plans for renovating an apartment, for buying an old motorcycle, now there was a void. Andrei died. Because of one extra shot. Because of 3 extra seconds. Forrester sat by the wall. He didn't scream. He just looked at his hands, covered in the sticky, drying crust of his friend's blood. The drone buzzing grew closer. "Come on," he said to the ceiling. "Come on, fly here, you piece of scrap metal." But the drone flew past. Fate decided not to punish him with death. It decided to punish him with life. Part 4: The Exit. Evening came. Darkness in the Donbass falls quickly, like a curtain in a theater. Forrester couldn't leave the body. It was an unwritten rule. You don't leave your own. Especially the dead. He hid his rifle. He didn't need it anymore. It was the instrument of his shame. He took Andrei's assault rifle. He tied a strap to the dead friend's tactical vest. "All right, brother. Let's go home," he said into the darkness. The way back was Golgotha. 4 kilometers over broken terrain, under the constant gaze of Mavics, with thermal vision. Forrester crawled. He dragged a weight behind him that felt heavier than the planet. Every meter came with a groan. Stones tore at his knees, his elbows were ground into raw meat. He talked to the body. "Just a bit more, Andrei, just to the tree line. It'll be easier there. There's grass. You remember how we sat near Bakhmut? We thought it was the end then, too. But we made it out. And we'll make it out now." Several times mortars landed nearby. Shrapnel slashed the branches overhead. Forrester covered his friend's body with his own. Not to save him, there was nothing left to save, but to not allow the war to mutilate him further. So that Nastia could see his face. He reached friendly lines near dawn. At the forward infantry post, guys from the 47th Brigade almost opened fire when they saw a dark smear crawling out of the gray zone. "Friendly!" Forrester rasped. His voice was gone. When the medics ran up to him, he wouldn't let go of the strap. His fingers were locked in a cramp. They had to be pried open by force. He lay at the bottom of the trench, looking up at the gray, dawning sky of Pokrovsk. "Where's the second one?" someone asked above him. "There is no second one," Forrester answered. "I killed him." The medic looked at Andrei's body, at the bullet hole in the neck. "No, brother. That's a sniper round. 7.62 or .338. That wasn't you." Forrester closed his eyes. "It was me. I didn't leave when I should have. I stayed for the frag. I killed him." Epilogue: The Void. A month passed. Forrester was discharged for health reasons, concussion and severe PTSD. He returned to an empty apartment in Kiev. He didn't go to the funeral. He couldn't look into Nastia's eyes. He stood at a distance, hiding behind the trees of the Bakov cemetery like a criminal. Every night he dreamed the same dream. The slag heap. The heat. String's voice in the earpiece. Displacement? In the dream, Forrester always answers, "Yes. We're moving." And they get up and walk. And Andrei laughs, talking about how he's going to buy that old motorcycle. They walk into the sunset, alive, tired, happy. But then Forrester wakes up. In the darkness of the room. And the silence around him is so loud it makes his ears ring. He looks at his hands. They are clean. But he still feels that sticky, hot warmth on them. He picks up his phone. Finds the contact. String. The last message was sent the day before that mission. "Alex, I found guitar strings. The best ones. When we get back, I'll play Metallica for you." Forrester plays the song. Nothing else matters. And he sits in the darkness until the music ends. He survived. But he didn't return. He remained there, under that slag heap, next to his dead friend, forever chained to his mistake.